On May 31, 2017, 12-year-old Naomi Jones of Pensacola, Florida, began her day like any other. She had no idea that this ordinary morning would lead to a devastating turn of events. Naomi lived with her mother, Shanta Hurry, and her two younger brothers in an apartment complex that seemed safe and ordinary. But by the end of the day, Naomi's disappearance would send her family into a desperate search, bringing in law enforcement, the FBI, and an entire community rallying to find her. What began as a search for a missing girl soon uncovered a brutal crime that no one in the close-knit Florida town could have anticipated. The day Naomi went missing. The horror started when Naomi's mother, Shanta, received a call from her two younger sons. Naomi, who had been left in charge of her siblings, had suddenly gone missing without a trace. The boys, confused and worried, couldn't understand where their older sister had gone. Shanta, a hard-working mother, immediately grew concerned. She knew her daughter would never leave her brothers unattended unless something was seriously wrong. After searching every corner of their apartment and the surrounding area, Shanta rushed home from work, hoping that Naomi would be hiding or playing nearby. But when her thorough search turned up nothing, the gravity of the situation hit her. Her daughter was truly missing. With her worst fears looming, Shanta wasted no time and called the police. A mother's worst fear. Naomi's disappearance was immediately taken seriously by local authorities. Given the increasing number of cases involving missing children across the country, the police knew that time was of the essence. They wasted no time in launching a full-scale search effort, canvassing the apartment complex, the surrounding neighborhoods, and even local parks where Naomi might have wandered. They distributed flyers, knocked on doors, and spoke with anyone who might have seen the young girl. Early on, a disturbing discovery fueled their growing fear. Locks of dark brown hair were found on the side of the road near the apartment complex. Naomi had a hair weave, and investigators quickly surmised that the hair could have been pulled free during a struggle. This discovery turned the case from a missing persons search into a potential abduction, and every moment counted in the race to bring Naomi home. Questioning the family. As investigators continued their search, they turned their attention to Naomi's immediate family, hoping to gather any clues that could help locate the missing girl. Naomi's younger brothers, aged 10 and 4, were the last ones to see her before she disappeared, making their testimony crucial. However, interviewing such young children is always a delicate task. Their memories, especially under stress, can be fragmented and unreliable. Despite this challenge, the police managed to gather some information, although it didn't lead to any concrete conclusions. Shanta, Naomi's mother, was steadfast in her belief that Naomi would never leave her brothers alone. Naomi was a responsible, caring sister who took her role seriously. Shanta's confidence in Naomi's character only deepened her growing fear that something terrible had happened. With this sense of urgency, the search efforts were doubled, but the lack of immediate results left the family in unbearable suspense. Suspicion falls on Naomi's father. As the search for Naomi continued, Shanta began to voice her suspicions about her estranged ex-husband, Robert Jones, who had been largely absent from Naomi's life. She wondered if perhaps Naomi had been lured away by someone she trusted, particularly her father. Naomi, like many children in similar situations, longed for her absent father's attention and may have been vulnerable to his influence. This theory seemed plausible enough for the police to pursue, and they brought Robert in for questioning. They meticulously followed up on his whereabouts and contacts, but despite Shanta's concerns, Robert's alibi held up under scrutiny. He was quickly cleared of any involvement in Naomi's disappearance. While this lead hit a dead end, it left investigators wondering if someone else in Naomi's life could have gained her trust and taken advantage of her vulnerability. A disturbing discovery in the neighborhood. As the investigation continued, detectives turned their attention to the people in Naomi's neighborhood. One of the key individuals living near the family was a woman named Lauren, whose apartment was directly across from Naomi's. This proximity was enough to spark the interest of investigators, who wondered if Lauren or someone close to her might have seen something suspicious. As it turned out, Lauren's boyfriend, Robert Howard, stayed frequently at her apartment, despite having a home of his own an hour away. Howard's behavior quickly came under the microscope when police discovered his disturbing past. He had been convicted of multiple counts of assault in the late 1990s and had spent 15 years in prison before being released in 2014. Howard, now a registered offender, had settled into a routine in Lauren's apartment, blending into the neighborhood without raising any alarms until now. This revelation sent chills through the investigators, who wondered if Howard could be involved in Naomi's disappearance. A horrifying turn. Robert Howard soon became the focus of the investigation as police uncovered more unsettling details about his background. Despite his past convictions, Howard presented himself as a quiet, unassuming man who had seemingly reintegrated into society. He was initially cooperative during questioning, providing an alibi that appeared plausible. He claimed to have spent the morning of Naomi's disappearance at the gym and then returned to Lauren's apartment. However, inconsistencies in his story began to emerge, raising further suspicions. Howard's calm demeanor during questioning seemed almost too composed, given the gravity of the situation. Investigators felt that there was more to his story and began digging deeper, retracing his steps on the day Naomi went missing and cross-referencing his movements with surveillance footage. As more evidence surfaced, it became increasingly clear that Howard was not being entirely truthful. The gruesome discovery. 5 days after Naomi was reported missing, 2 local workers made a discovery that would forever change the trajectory of the investigation. While taking a break to fish under a nearby bridge, they noticed a foul smell and assumed it was a dead animal. But upon closer inspection, they realized the truth was far more horrifying. Floating in the water below the bridge was the lifeless body of Naomi Jones. Her body was in an advanced state of decomposition, making the scene all the more shocking. Naomi's red tank top, the same one she had worn the day she disappeared, was still on her body, but her shorts and underwear were missing. The search for a missing child had now become a murder investigation, and law enforcement wasted no time in shifting gears. The community was devastated as the news spread, and the focus turned to finding the person responsible for Naomi's tragic death. Piecing together the crime. With the discovery of Naomi's body, police zeroed in on Robert Howard. His initial alibi was falling apart, and his proximity to both the scene of the crime and Naomi's home made him a prime suspect. Investigators began combing through every detail of Howard's story, finding discrepancies that raised serious red flags. Surveillance footage captured his car near the location where Naomi's body was found, and phone records placed him in the area around the time of her disappearance. These inconsistencies were enough for police to bring Howard in for further questioning. As the evidence mounted, Howard's demeanor shifted. The once calm man grew increasingly agitated as detectives pressed him for answers. It was becoming clear that they had found their suspect, but getting Howard to confess to his involvement would prove to be a long and grueling process. The confession. After hours of intense interrogation, Robert Howard finally broke down and confessed to killing Naomi. His confession, however, was far from straightforward. Howard claimed that Naomi had followed him to his apartment and that an argument had ensued. In a chilling revelation, Howard admitted to choking Naomi until she stopped breathing, but insisted that her death had been accidental. He described the panic that overtook him after realizing what he had done, leading him to make the unthinkable decision to dispose of her body in the creek. Even as he confessed, Howard continued to downplay his role in the crime, refusing to take full responsibility for his actions. Investigators, however, were not convinced by his attempts to minimize the crime. They had gathered enough evidence to charge him with Naomi's murder, and his confession only solidified their case. Thank you for joining us on this heartbreaking yet important journey through the story of Naomi Jones. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and share it to spread awareness. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest true crime stories and updates. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.